Listen, this isn't a normal video. This might be the most special thing you've ever seen. I'll share the full episode flowchart on my Telegram, whose link in description. Watch carefully, my friends.
Okay, so if you spend any time in the fitness world, you know the goal. Everyone wants a wider frame, that classic V-taper. But how you actually get there, well, that's where things get messy. The advice is all over the place, and honestly, a lot of it completely contradicts itself. So today, we're going to try and cut through all that noise and really unpack this whole debate. Online, the whole thing is framed in some pretty blunt terms. As one source puts it, your shoulder width is basically the difference between looking a little dweeby or looking like a Chad. It's seen as this absolute cornerstone of a powerful, athletic physique, the one thing that really sets the entire tone for how you look. And this isn't just about what looks cool at the gym. Some sources dig way deeper, pointing to studies that suggest this is a powerful biological preference. They position it not just as some fitness trend, but as something, well, something more primal, a trait that's wired to signal strength and masculinity. And that, right there, brings us to the absolute heart of this whole explainer. Is your frame just locked in by your DNA? Is it something you're born with? Or can you actually change it? Because the internet gives you two totally different answers, and they lead down two radically different paths. So first up, the quest for width. Let's just take a second to unpack why everyone is so obsessed with this look in the first place. Which brings us to path number one. Can you actually change the bone? Now, this first school of thought is probably the most controversial. It argues you can literally alter your own skeleton. But I mean, come on, can you really? The classic example you always hear is the swimmer's build. The claim is that all that swimming, that repetitive motion, literally forces the skeleton to get wider. But one really skeptical source calls this out as just selection bias. Their argument? It's not that swimming makes you wide, it's that people who are naturally wide are just way better at swimming. It makes perfect sense. It's the same reason all the best basketball players are super tall. And this same source, man, they don't pull any punches. They call a lot of these so-called bone-stretching methods pure cope. We're talking about things like the Reeves deadlift, or just holding heavy weights at your side, which supposedly stretch your clavicles. According to this view, there is absolutely zero real evidence that this stuff works, and the anatomical argument against it is actually pretty simple and compelling. When you do these heavy stretching exercises, you're pulling on your arm bone, your humerus. But here's the thing, your humerus connects to your shoulder blade, the scapula. It doesn't attach directly to your collarbone, the very thing you're trying to stretch. And here is the real kicker. The ligaments holding those bones together are way, way weaker than a solid piece of bone like your clavicle. So the logic is, those ligaments would just snap long before you could ever apply enough force to actually make your collarbones stretch. But there is one method in this camp that has some serious history behind it: ribcage expansion. Now, the theory here is a little different. It's not about stretching bone, but about stretching the costal cartilage. That's the flexible stuff connecting your ribs to your sternum. And bodybuilders from the golden era, guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger, were supposedly huge believers in this. And the exercise for this is the dumbbell pullover, but done in a very specific way to really max out that stretch in your rib cage. You lie across the bench, you let your hips sag down low, and you really focus on that deep stretch as you lower the weight. People who swear by this say you have to treat it like a real lift. Focus on getting stronger, adding more weight over time, not just chasing a pump. Okay, now for path number two, build the muscle. This philosophy basically says, forget about your bones. You can't change them. The real secret is to just build on top of the frame you've already got. So if you're gonna build muscle for width, one part of your shoulder matters more than anything else. You've got your front delts, your rear delts, but it's the side delt, the medial head, that creates that round, capped look. That's what adds pure visual width to your frame. But even here, people argue about the best way to train that muscle. One camp is all about high frequency. Their advice is to just spam lateral raises, maybe hitting them 3 times a week with really high intensity, using stuff like drop sets. The other philosophy is more about building foundational strength. They say to focus on heavy overhead presses, progressive overload, and really controlling the weight on the way down. All right, next up, we have the illusionist's playbook. Because according to this line of thinking, creating that perfect V-taper isn't just about what you do train, it's also about what you don't. Proponents of this illusion method are really consistent about this. They target two muscles as the enemies of the V-taper. Those are the traps sitting on top of your shoulders and the obliques on the sides of your waist. The thinking is, if you overdevelop these, you can actually sabotage your own look. For example, big, massive traps are said to give you a blocky, more rectangular shape. By building up, they make your neck look shorter and they make your clavicles look less wide, which completely ruins that clean, sweeping line from your neck out to your shoulder. And it's the exact same story for your obliques. If you build too much muscle on the sides of your core, your waist just gets wider. And that directly attacks the shoulder to waist ratio, which is the whole foundation of a V-taper. A wider waist will always make your shoulders look narrower by comparison. And that brings us to our final section, your frame, your choice. Let's put these two competing ideas together and see where we land. So let's look at them side by side. Path 1 is about trying to change your actual structure. The core belief is that you can expand cartilage with things like pullovers. But the big question remains, is it real or is it just cope? Then you have path 2, which is all about mastering the illusion. It says your bone width is genetic, so the real key is building muscle, like your side delts, while avoiding others, like your traps. And the question there is it better to just build or to be a sculptor? In the end, the sources don't really give you one single answer. What they do is present you with a choice, almost a choice of identity. So the final question isn't really, can you get a wider frame? Because both paths agree that you can. The real question you have to ask yourself is this. Are you a structuralist, betting on old school, almost forgotten methods to literally expand your body? Or are you an artist, using muscle as your clay to master the perfect illusion?